There are moments in life when something deep inside whispers. Something isn't right. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's a quiet ache, a subtle emptiness, as if the soul itself is trying to be heard beneath the noise of everyday life. You wake up, look around, and even when everything seems in place on the outside, something on the inside feels lost. A silent question lingers. Why does it feel like I've drifted so far from myself? Perhaps you know this feeling. The sensation of walking through life as if you were merely a shadow of who you once were, or who you were meant to become. There's this hollow space, a space where purpose used to live. It feels like being disconnected, not just from people, not just from situations, but from your own existence. And in that emptiness, the mind starts searching desperately for answers, for directions, for meaning. But what if this emptiness is not a mistake? Bruce Lipton often explains this through a simple yet profound metaphor. The metaphor of the human cell. A healthy cell constantly communicates with its environment. It listens, it responds. It exchanges information, energy, and nutrients. But when a cell loses its ability to communicate, it begins to malfunction. It loses its function, it becomes isolated, and eventually it gets sick. This is exactly what happens to us when we disconnect from the field, the invisible, intelligent energy that permeates everything. We are not broken. We are simply disconnected. This feeling of being lost, it's not failure. It's not weakness. It's a signal, a biological and spiritual signal. Your body feels it. Your heart feels it, even if your mind doesn't yet understand. It's the language of energy, of frequency, telling you that the way you've been living, thinking, feeling, has moved out of harmony with the deeper intelligence of life itself. Greg Braden calls this the feedback of the unified field. It's not punishment. It's not chaos. It's guidance, a sacred form of redirection. When your internal signals, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, fall out of coherence with the field, life starts reflecting that dissonance. Challenges appear, not to destroy you, but to wake you up, to pull you back to your center, to your true alignment. And here, in this very moment, a powerful question begins to arise, not from your mind, but from the core of your being. A question that echoes softly, like a whisper from the universe itself. What if this discomfort, this emptiness, isn't a mistake? What if it's actually a vibrational map guiding you back home? There is something profoundly disorienting about wanting change, and yet feeling like nothing shifts. It's as if you are pushing against a force you cannot see. You try, you hope, you even affirm. But something deeper keeps pulling you back to the same place, the same patterns, the same invisible wall. And this creates an almost unbearable contradiction, because on the surface, you desire transformation. But underneath, in the quiet chambers of your subconscious, something else entirely is being broadcast into the universe. Bruce Lipton's work unveils something crucial here. That sensation of being lost, of being stuck, it isn't random. It's biological. It's energetic. It's the voice of subconscious programs, many of which you didn't create. They were inherited, absorbed, imprinted through childhood, through repetition, through the invisible energies of family, society, and past experiences. And here lies the great paradox. Your conscious mind dreams of a new reality, but your subconscious, which governs over 95% of your life, continues to replay outdated frequencies. The mind tells one story, but the body vibrates another. And this is the source of the inner war. The tension between the life you say you want and the life your frequency keeps sustaining. You are trying to change direction, but the signal you send to the field hasn't yet changed. And the universe, it doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your vibration. It responds to the resonance of your being. This realization can feel heavy, overwhelming even, but it's not here to punish you. It's here to wake you up to the truth of how powerful you really are. Because the field, the universe, always mirrors, not your desires, but your dominant frequencies. It's never about what you ask. It's always about what you are. And so, the quiet question begins to surface. Not as judgment, but as an invitation. Are you trying to create a new life while unknowingly vibrating in the frequency of the old one? There's a pattern, almost universal, that appears when someone feels lost. The instinct is to look outward, to search, to believe that somewhere out there exists a course, a mentor, a method, something that holds the answer to who you are supposed to become. And so the search begins. a desperate pilgrimage through books, through workshops, through promises of quick solutions. But the deeper truth, the uncomfortable truth, is that this very search is often part of the illusion that keeps you lost. The mind is clever. It convinces you that if you can just gather enough information, if you can find the right path, the right formula, then the confusion will dissolve. But Bruce Lipton reminds us of a biological law that most forget. A cell does not change its function by altering what's around it. It transforms only when its internal environment, its chemistry, its perception, its energy shifts. And you, just like that cell, cannot step into a new life while your internal signals are still tuned to the frequencies of the past. This is why so many feel trapped. Why no matter how much they learn, or how hard they try, the emptiness lingers. The purpose feels distant, because the search is happening externally, while the true signal, the only signal that the field recognizes, remains unchanged within. It's like trying to tune into a new radio station while refusing to move the dial, and the paradox is painful. The more you chase answers outside of yourself, the further you drift from your own vibrational truth, the further you disconnect from the inner intelligence that knows the way, not through knowledge, but through coherence, through alignment. The field, the universe itself, does not respond to how much you know. It responds to what you are broadcasting right now, through your emotions, your beliefs, your unconscious patterns. This is not punishment, it's not failure, it's a sacred mechanism, a feedback loop designed to gently, and sometimes forcefully, guide you back to yourself. And so the real question emerges, how can you find your way? If the map you are using was written by the very patterns that once made you feel lost, there's a moment, a quiet breaking point, when everything begins to fall apart, plans collapse, relationships dissolve, opportunities vanish. And in the middle of that storm, it feels like failure. It feels like something has gone terribly wrong. But what if it hasn't? What if what looks like collapse is actually sacred intervention? What if disconnection itself is the universe's most powerful tool for realignment? It is tempting, so tempting, to believe that when life stops flowing, it means you are cursed, forgotten, abandoned. But Neville Goddard offers a different lens. He reminds us that reality is nothing more than the mirror of your dominant inner image. If the image within remains outdated, fragmented, misaligned, then the universe with all its intelligence must interrupt the flow of that script, not to punish, not to destroy, but to give you the chance to rewrite the narrative, to choose a different frequency. The breakdown is not the problem. The breakdown is the signal. It is the field whispering, or sometimes shouting, that the version of you that created the past cannot be the one who walks into the future. When the path crumbles beneath your feet, it's not because you are lost. It's because the path you are walking no longer matches your soul's frequency. And so, doors close, people leave, circumstances unravel, not because the universe is cruel, but because coherence is a law, not a suggestion. If your internal vibration no longer matches the timeline you are on, life will dismantle it, not to hurt you, but to free you. Discomfort is not chaos. It is the sacred alarm of frequency asking, pleading for an update. The field does not punish dissonance, it reflects it. And in that reflection, it offers a choice, a portal, an invitation to remember that the power to shift reality has always lived within the images, the emotions, and the frequencies you hold. And so the question echoes deeper now. If everything falling apart is actually everything trying to fall into place, will you still call it failure? There is a space, a mysterious and uncomfortable space, that few dare to fully enter. It's the space between what was and what has not yet become. The void, the in-between, the silence that follows collapse and precedes rebirth. And in this space, the mind panics, the ego resists, the body trembles, because nothing feels certain anymore. The identity that once held you dissolves. The future feels invisible, the past irrelevant. And yet, within this void, lives the most powerful portal for transformation. Science and spirituality both whisper the same truth here. Bruce Lipton describes how the brain, in moments of uncertainty, enters a heightened state of neuroplasticity, a window where the old circuits loosen and new pathways can be formed. But it is not an easy space. The void feels like a death of the familiar, a death of the known. But it is only through this temporary death that new life can emerge. The mistake, the one so many make, is to rush out of the void, to numb it, distract from it, escape it. But the void is not your enemy. It is the sacred space where the quantum field listens most closely. It's in this silence, in this emptiness, that your subconscious becomes most open, most receptive to new frequencies, new information, new codes of reality. This is where the practice of coherence becomes essential. Greg Braden speaks of the heart's electromagnetic field, a force thousands of times stronger than the brain's. When the mind is in chaos, but the heart enters coherence, a bridge forms, a bridge between the collapse of the old and the emergence of the new. The void becomes womb. The emptiness becomes creation. It is not punishment. It is preparation. The field pauses everything, holds you in suspension, not to harm, but to give you the rarest gift, the chance to consciously decide what signal you will send next, what frequency, what belief, what emotion will now become the architect of your reality. And so, the silence of the void asks a question. If everything you once were is gone, who do you choose to become? Now, look closely at the rhythm of nature. There is no anxiety when the tree lets go of its leaves. No panic when the sky darkens before the rain. No desperation when winter arrives and the flowers disappear. Nature trusts the cycle, trusts the intelligence of its own becoming. It knows that losing is not failure, it is preparation. It knows that the empty branches are not death, but the quiet architecture of renewal. And yet, when life asks us to enter our own seasons of emptiness, we resist, we fight, we believe something is broken. We believe something is wrong. But the soul, like the tree, knows otherwise. It understands that confusion, that disorientation, is nothing but an energetic pruning, a sacred clearing of what no longer aligns, to make space for what truly belongs. The danger is not in the void itself. The danger is in resisting it, because resistance creates friction. Friction creates suffering, and suffering, when misunderstood, becomes a loop of anxiety, depression, and further disconnection from the field. But when we soften, when we remember that this is the natural rhythm of all living systems, the struggle begins to dissolve. There is profound wisdom in witnessing how nature allows itself to be undone, in order to become again. The river does not mourn when it changes course. The ocean does not resist the pull of the moon. Everything flows because everything knows. That alignment with the greater field, with the larger intelligence, is not a luxury. It is a necessity. This is the quiet teaching of the universe. To observe, to breathe, to allow. Because often, the mind cannot yet see the patterns the field is weaving on your behalf. Often, what feels like disconnection is simply the sacred pause between one frequency and the next. And so, the gentle invitation rises again. If even the tree trusts the falling of its own leaves, can you trust the falling of everything that no longer belongs to the next version of you? There comes a moment, quiet yet undeniable, when the realization begins to bloom. None of this was punishment. None of this was chaos. It was, and always has been, an invitation. An invitation from the field, from the invisible intelligence that we are never separate from, but often forget. An invitation to return not to who you were, but to who you are, beneath the noise, beneath the conditioning, beneath the illusion. Bruce Lipton reminds us with striking clarity. Your internal environment shapes your external biology, meaning the disconnection you feel, the emptiness you carry, is not a flaw. It is simply the echo of an outdated internal signal asking, pleading to be updated, to be brought back into harmony with the living field of life itself. Greg Braden expands this understanding even further. You are not separate from the field. You are the field in expression. And this changes everything, because it means the answers were never outside. The direction was never lost. The center was never gone. It was simply covered by frequencies that no longer reflect who you are becoming. Disconnection is not the end. It is the portal, the sacred threshold that marks the end of living by accident and the beginning of living by alignment. Living not as someone searching for the path, but as someone who has become the path itself, a living signal, a living frequency, a conscious participant in the ongoing conversation between matter, energy, and consciousness. And so, the final reflection lingers, soft yet profound. When you stop searching for the way and start becoming the way, The universe no longer needs to redirect you. You become the GPS, the living, breathing compass of your own life.